So then I thought, nope, I was right when I walked into the room.
Okay, so all good?
Yeah, so it's fine. I think some people were thrown by the fact that they got the cancellation message. I know, I already heard about it. So the good news is I canceled those meetings today because I think we're now committed to being here. Yeah. And so we should be. We're going to be here there, correct.
Except tomorrow morning, tomorrow morning. Right.
Tomorrow morning's on Zoom, so tomorrow morning is still set up on Zoom. And it is set up to...
And it's still set up. It's still set up with the Shabbat morning services Zoom link, because that's what they sent their whole family.
Yeah, I left the whole thing. That one I just turned into a single event as opposed to a recurring event that I did last year.
Right.
And it is, I put in the streaming information for that specific business. And as a result, when you click to stream, it just starts. You don't have to copy the information.
Oh, yeah, right. That's how it has been. Yeah.
Because I tested something and it...
The recurring one, it just goes. Or it has been just going. Yeah.
Are we streaming right now?
But I forgot about that. I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're going to start. I can't tell who anybody is.
I know.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, friends. So it's good to see you. I know that part of the reason why we're so far away is this idea of singing in our space, and that's why we're going to keep our masks on. When I'm not leading, I'll be putting mine on as well. But we are so glad that you're here, even with your masks on. I can't tell who you are yet, but that's okay. We hope that as you entered, you picked up your prayer book, your Siddur. We are still streaming, and we have some friends that are watching along on our website and on YouTube. Let's take a breath, make a transition. I know that some of us are super excited about being here, and other folks are just a little not yet sure how they're feeling yet, and it's all okay. We're just glad that you're here, truly. We're going to begin on page 132 at the bottom of the page, 132. And for our friends online, if you go to the streaming website, you will see our Siddur that is online as well, and you'll be able to follow along there.
And if you have 2 page numbers, why am I not louder than I am right now? If you have 2 page numbers, then it's the one in blue brackets. In blue brackets. Can you all hear me? Yes, the sound is out there? Okay. Zaru ala tzadik Yishrei lev simcha Or zaru ala tzadik Yishrei lev simcha Simchu tzadikim Adonai, Adonai Ve'hodu lezecher kodsho Simchu tzadikim Adonai Ve'hodu lezecher kodsho Zaru ala tzadik u'yishrei lev simcha or zaru ala tzadik u'yishrei lev simcha.
We are delighted that another student becomes bar mitzvah, and we invite you to turn to page 120 as David and his family come forward. So Scott and Ashley, David and Abby, you folks come and join us and bring some light into our space and into our lives. I know, matches. Can you open that? No, just spell it out, nice and loud. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. And we will invite everybody to please rise. David, you're going to come back over here with that Kiddush cup.
David,
You're not done.
grab your Kiddush cup and your prayer book.
We are going to turn to the next page because he's going to lead us in a Kiddush. You got your cup, and you can come and bring it up here. 123. There you go.
Baruch at Adonai Baruch at Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch at Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotov v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'tanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha Be'achava uvratzon hin haltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. And take a sip. You should take your mask. There you go. Wonderful. You can go back to your seat. Friends, you could be seated. Let us turn forward. Lechadodi, the prayer of our mystics. We're going to continue on page 138 and 139. And as always, we continue with the first 5 stanzas. After the 5th one, we jump to the very last one, the 9th one. And at that point, we can rise and welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst. 138.
Look, I can start playing while you're still talking. Ya la 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 do di likrat kala. Ya la 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 bene Shabbat nikabla. Ah, Shamor v'sachor לדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. יאללה לה 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 Shabbat Mikata Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'necha Ki Mekor HaBracha Merosh Migadam Nesucha Sof Maseh V'Makshavat Tchila Yalalai Lalai 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 Hadodi Likrat Kala Yalalai Lalai 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 Shabbat Kala Nikdash Melech Ir Belucha Kumitzei Mitoch Avecha Lav Lach Shavet Emek Havacha Shabbat Mikabah
Page 142. You can be seated.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Haaretz, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Haaretz, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Haaretz, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichen Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichen Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei
Let's turn the page again, 144, and we continue with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Baba, ba'alma divrach hirute, v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchayedecho beit Yisrael, ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kariv, ve'imeru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ul'al Me'almaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach Ve'yishabach Yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yit'halal Shemei D'Kudusha B'richu Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tishbechata v'nechemata damiran b'ama ve'imeru. Amen.
We turn the page.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's turn the page. 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my friend, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Page 150. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadta, Aken Adonai Eloheinu, B'shochbenu u'filmenu, Nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratcha, U'v'mitzvotecha, Le'olam va'ed. Ki הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגר יומם ולילה, באהבה חדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Leolam Va'ed.
May be seated. Let's continue 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's turn again, 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Let's turn the page.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש. נורות תהילות, אוסף עלה, נורות תהילות, אוסף עלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולמי. מלכותך לאהובניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולמי. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש.
And again we turn, 160.
And we sing at the very bottom of, were you going to say something? Sorry, did I interrupt you? I can't, we don't have like that, it's hard to tell with masks on. We're singing at the bottom of the page, Baruch Atah Adonai, this Chatima, these words of spreading tabernacle of peace over us and all of God's people and over Jerusalem. Baruch Atah Adonai, HaPorei Sukkah Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch Atah Adonai, HaPorei Sukkah Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
And on 162, Vishamru, and we celebrate Shabbat.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Beini uven b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, Shabbat vayinafar v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
We invite you to rise if you're able, and we move into the tefillah together, and we begin on 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד. מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך ממית, ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You can be seated. Let's read on 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On 175. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you. In this land, in Zion, restored in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. 178, our prayer for peace.
Shalom Ra, Am Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra, Am Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon, Lechol HaShalom. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon, Har HaShem, Shalom Am Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Shalom Am Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Bechol etz ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Let's take some time for our own private prayer. You can follow in the Siddur in 179 through 181. Choose a reading that you wish to reflect upon, or just take some time for your own silent prayer.
Shalom, shalom, shalom b'mroma. Shalom, shalom, shalom b'mroma. Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Vehimeru. Amen.
After our prayers for peace, we always turn to a prayer of healing and wholeness. Our Misha Berach is on 371, in the middle of the page, 371. If you would like to say a name out loud, you can just do so. We'll hear you, even if they're all together. We're going to take all of those names, those that folks at home might be sharing, those that we're not saying out loud, just in our hearts. We think of them and send them some strength their way.
Misheberach avoteinu mekor ha'bracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor ha'bracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
I haven't been here for a while. I don't know about you, but I haven't been here for a while. And when I am here, we're never this far away from you. We were always so deliberate about bringing our reading table, this shulchan, down below so that there wouldn't be this distance, and yet we still have some physical distancing that's going on. Little by little, I see that we make progress, and hopefully everything will continue to go in the direction where people will feel good and comfortable and safe again to feel like they can come into our sanctuary. We're going to continue to spend our time outdoors and online, but with this weather, we knew that it was going to be an intimate group tonight, and we felt like people who are ready for it can enter, but little by little, we'll take our time, and everybody goes at their own pace and into their own spaces. So, but I'm so glad we can be here together like this. I want to tell you a little bit about Balak. Balak is where we are going to be reading, and Balak is the king of Moab, and he sets the stage for us to have this really strange story, this really bizarre beginning to an incredible text. You see, the king of Moab, Balak, he wants to seek out a seer, a visionary named Balaam. And Balak wants to hire Balaam. Are you confused yet? Balak, Balaam. You can figure it out. I have trust in you. So Balak wants to hire Balaam, and Balaam the seer is supposed to curse the Israelites, to bring bad messages over to all of these Israelites, the enemy of Balak, the king of Moab. Why? We don't know, but he doesn't trust them. He's feeling threatened by them, so he wants Balaam to curse them. Once the king finds Balaam, the seer, he sends him on this way to do this terrible task. And this provokes God's anger, a little frustration, because we know God loves the people of Israel, and God doesn't want a curse to happen, because in those days, there was a power to those kinds of words. So Balaam, this great seer, saddled his donkey, and he set off on this journey, and God placed an angel in his path to challenge him. This is where it gets interesting. This donkey saw the angel, but not Balaam. The seer didn't see the donkey. So this angel is in front of them. He pulls out a sword. The animal swerves from the road and goes into the fields. And Balaam starts beating his animal and encourages and trying to get her to turn back and go back onto the road. But the angel of Adonai stations himself in a lane between the vineyards with a fence on either side. And the donkey, seeing God's angel, presses herself against the wall and squeezes Balaam's foot against the wall. And so Balaam beat her again. It's terrible. Once more, the angel moves forward and stations herself on a spot so narrow that there is no room to go either to the left or to the right. And when the donkey sees this angel, she lays down below Balaam, and Balaam was furious and again beats this poor animal with a stick. What comes next is another little strange part, just a little strange. Balaam's donkey starts talking to Balaam. I said it out loud. Balaam's donkey starts talking to Balaam, asking, Balaam, why are you hitting me? And Balaam says, you're making a mockery out of me. The donkey replied, I am the same animal that you have been riding for all of these years. Have I ever mocked you before? And then shamefully, Balaam says no. Then we read in the text that God uncovered Balaam's eyes, and then he saw the angel. God uncovered Balaam's eyes, and Balaam bowed down in shame. He was embarrassed. He felt very badly. And a lot of us are wondering, what's the point of all of this? This is an unusual story for us to see in the Torah. What could be this incredible truth that is trying to be shared with us? One truth is, stay away from opiates. That's true. Not to engage in this because Balaam was engaging in something. No, that's not true. One thing is really important, is that we have to remember Balaam's job. What's his job? What's he hired to do? He's a seer. He's a seer who isn't seeing what is right in front of him. Choosing not to see is something that we all do. Ignoring something that is right in front of us is pretty typical of human beings. What is it that we miss? I think we miss when our friends are hurting. I think we miss when people are feeling lonely. I think we miss that people have been wronged. I think we miss that people have been mistreated. And so in a day and age when lots of us want to talk more and more and more about safety and respect and equity, we sometimes don't want to be so bothered, or we just have a blind spot. A blind spot. talking about how women are treated in our country, well, a lot of us have a blind spot. Talking about racism and anti-racism, a lot of us have a blind spot. I would say there's nobody without a blind spot. Not a single one. We all have that in common. But the question is, what are we going to do? Are we going to talk about people who might live with a disability, or just talk about the disabled so everybody is the same, instead of recognizing the spark, the humanity in each and every person? What's supposed to happen that the Torah is trying to teach us? I think we all want to be seen. And in order to see others, we have to put a little bit more energy into it. So often, people go to a house of mourning, and in the visit that's supposed to bring comfort to the person struggling, the visitor often, have you noticed this, talks a lot and gives all of this unsolicited advice. But that's not always what we need if we are the mourner. Can we recognize the blind spots that we have and focus more on the people sitting in front of us? The good news is, we are created with a spark of the divine within, and we can open our eyes at any time. We're able to see what is in front of us if we choose. But I used to think that we all could. I didn't realize how much I have been trained to develop blind spots. But we have the potential to see. Helen Keller, do you remember Helen Keller? She's not this mythic storytelling person who overcomes these obstacles. She was a real human being with extraordinary challenges and extraordinary gifts. One of her teachings, there is no lovelier way to thank God for your sight than by giving a helping hand to someone in the dark. Can I say that again? Because it came from Helen Keller. There is no lovelier way to thank God for your sight than by giving a helping hand to someone in the dark. So what can we do? How do we manage this? Can we check on someone who's in pain? Someone we know who is lonely? Perhaps somebody in this very sanctuary? Can we engage in the work of public policy and try and make a difference for people who are struggling out in the world? Remember, I know that there's some folks in our very own congregation that are struggling with the idea that we haven't been in our building, but people who are homeless could be. And I know that not everybody is super happy or understands how we can make a decision to close our facility for all of these months and not allow anybody to come, and still make a decision, a very conscious decision, that if we are not going to be here, that people who have no place to go in this kind of weather, that we can save their lives. That's what we did during this winter. Now it's changing because we're coming back to the building, as we can see. It's changing because the weather is changing. But we have to open up our eyes and see what is in front of us. And while we weren't here, we were going to make sure that some had a safe space. Not all, but some. And I'm glad we did it. And now it's time for us to, little by little, come back into our space and reuse our sanctuary in our buildings and still find a way to support those who go through life unseen. We have a lot of people who feel unseen, including folks in our own congregation. We have to try and open our eyes. Otherwise, the hurt we can cause, no matter who it is, it could feel a lot like we're the donkey getting hit. If nobody sees me, if I'm not known. God uncovered Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel. Now, God doesn't necessarily do that anymore. Maybe God never did. But in this teaching, God tells us something extraordinary. Not only does God give us the opportunity to open our eyes, but don't forget what Balaam did. Balaam said to the angel of the Eternal, I have sinned. I did not realize that you were standing in the road to oppose me. He said that he sinned because his eyes weren't opened. He owned it. He apologized. He recognized that he was blinded. We can be good people and still be blinded. Happens all the time. And I think we can be even better if we were to open our eyes, examine our surroundings, see who might be hurting, take care of them without hurting ourselves. Because we were strangers too, in a strange land, a land of Egypt, a house of bondage. We know the heart of the stranger, so we have to love the stranger, and we have to start with ourselves. And the last thing I'll say comes from the reading from the prophet Micah, something that lots of folks in Jewish tradition and other descendants of Abraham, and certainly those with an idea that the prophets in Judaism has something to say. Micah said, God has told you. God has told you what is good and what God requires of you. Only this, to do justice, to love goodness and mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. (586). The bottom of page 586 will ask you to rise if you are able for Aleinu L'Shabech.
Aleinu L'Shabech L'Adon HaKol, L'Tet Gedula L'Yotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu K'goyei Ha'aratzot, Velo Samanu K'mishpechot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Karam, V'goralenu Kechol Hamonam, V'anachnu Koreim, Umishtachavim, Umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu noteh shamayim ve'yosei haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mimal, u'shchinatu zo begovei meromim. Hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatuv betorato, vedat hayom, Ve'adat hayom v'hashevot elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim imal, ve'aharetz mitachat ein od, ve'ne'emar v'haya Adonai Lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing. If you are observing a yard site or in a period of mourning, and you would like to share the name of one whom you are remembering, we'd be grateful if you call out their names. We'll listen to the ones whom you're remembering. We'll share their names from our community and our wider congregation, and then we can say Kaddish together. Others? We remember also in the period of Shloshim, those first 30 days, William Rakusin, the cousin of Joshua Putterman, Robert Leaf, the uncle of Nate Leaf, Lon McClanahan, the father of Patty Josephs, Miriam Eckstein-Borough, the sister of Larry Eckstein, and those yard sites that we recall for this week that has passed: Sarah Horwitz, Joel Gutman, Morris Seufer, Rose Seufer, Mary Jean Dixon, Louis Kirshner, Joyce Edwards Diamond, Marceline Cameron, Kelton Hiltsley, Selma Abrams, Doris Schwartz, Lisa Gale Wygod, Dora Borofsky Cohen, Esther Ritter, Helen Miranda, Rebecca Passat Arudi, Rhoda Mund, Leah Sarna, Andrea Weiner, Monty Barry Goodman, Shirley Widow, Robert Boonstra, Boris Stern. We also remember this week 57 years since the death of Andrew Goodman, James Cheney, and Michael Schwerner. Kaddish is on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon. Uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv. V'meru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'mei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berachata v'shirata, tush berachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'meru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'yemeru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort to the bereaved here and everywhere. Let's all say Amen. You can be seated. David, come here for a second. You. Everybody, this is David. Say hi. See, everybody online is also waving at you. Listen. I want to tell you something. I think you're pretty neat. Really. I think this is a really difficult time to go through this bar mitzvah process, and you're one of the only few that are kind of having any kind of encounter with our congregation. And I know it's better for your family and for those far away. We're going to bring them together on Zoom again tomorrow morning, and we're really delighted about that. I think I got really good at doing the Zoom thing. This is a lot harder now I'm going to have to learn it all over again, but Zoom I've got, so we're going to take good care of you. But all of the joking aside, to learn how to lead in a time that is all virtual, it seems, can't be easy. But something that I've seen from you is that you've always had your eyes open. Whether you are clapping on your couch at home during services, or talking about your teaching, your Devar Torah for tomorrow morning, we've always seen you with your eyes wide open. I don't know what your parents think, but for me, I'm not just impressed by that. I admire that about you. I respect that about you. And as the wider congregation gets to meet you and know you over the course of your future and your Jewish journey, I have no doubt they're going to see that about you too. We hope it continues to be that way, that you get to look, see, respond, take care of, and do your part. And we're excited to see how that journey unfolds. So for you, my friend, here is a yad from our congregation. We know that there are other things that are part of the delivery for tomorrow, and you will, I have no doubt, lead us well. And we're excited, and we all wish you a mazal tov. See, I told you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can go back to your family. Our closing prayer.
Let's turn to the bottom of page 647, the bottom of 647. It takes a lot of strength to really see. And so we know that we get that strength from God. Ozi vezimrat ya vayhili lishua. Ozi vezimrat ya vayhili lishua. Ozi vezimrat ya Vayhili lishua. Hozi vezimrat ya Vayhili lishua. Hozi vezimrat ya Vayhili lishua.
Just the last couple of things. We will be so grateful if we bring our prayer books back to the lobby over there. If you didn't take one, you just want to make your exit, you can. We're not bringing food yet, but we're going to be talking about it soon. We want to remind you that tomorrow morning, Shabbat morning service will be on Zoom. Torah study also on Zoom. Starting in next Shabbat, weather permitting, we'll be back at our tent, our other tent. Torah study will be outside by the tent starting in July. And we hope that you wish Holly well. She's taking a month of sabbatical. She will be gone all of July. So if you have a question for her, get it in on Monday, so she can answer Wednesday, and then that's it. So we have wonderful friends. While she's away, I'm taking some time. So we have some wonderful friends who are going to be leading services. We'll be on call for anything that anybody needs. All of that you will see next week in an email. And again, Shabbat Shalom to you. You can wish your neighbors a Shabbat Shalom. Before you shake their hand, make sure it's okay with them. Ask for their consent. For you at home, good Shabbos. Elbow bumps.
Your favorite. Yeah, it is wonderfully, beautifully challenging to all the different venues that we're playing. Hi, Joe.
Listen to me, I'm older than you.
Yes.
So I'm having this conversation with my grandmother. I am 3. She's telling me all these stories and I know what's going on, but I pretend that I don't. What's the point of these stories? And she says, good stories do not have a point.
Right. Well said. Well said. Well said.